Welcome, everyone. It's Matt, and today we're going to talk about the Max finale and what should we be focusing on. This is going to be kind of a class review, so let's get this done. It's going to be for August 18th through the 24th. All right, for the Max Finale event, we have Dark Skies, which is going to be the 18th through the 23rd, and the Max Finale, which is the 23rd and 24th. During the 18th and the 23rd through the 23rd uh, at 10 a.m., until 10 a.m. at least at your local time. Basically, what's going to be happening is Dynamaxes from the entire game are going to be semi-random throughout the entire time. So we're going to be able to get all the Dynamaxes, including the birds and the dogs. And so we will have that there. And from the August 18th until then, until the 24th, there will be a max go pass that we'll be able to do. And unfortunately, this Go Pass is going to be very important because at level 100 of this Go Pass, we will be able to get Eternatus. And there will be some random encounters with Dynamax Pokemon, Candy, which includes Eternatus Candy, which we're going to need almost an infinite amount of at this point, and Max Particles, which is also important because I'm going to be honest right now. I'm not a huge fan of this event because it is going to be an incredibly pay to play event, even at this point, unless if they're going to have a really big bonus of max particles given out. We don't have all the details, but I am afraid that this one might leave some bad taste in mouths of certain trainers just because how expensive this could be. There's also going to be an upgrade to the Go Pass Deluxe, which gives you an increased chance of encountering shiny Dynamax Pokemon, typically found in the 1 through 4 star Dynamax battles. Now, how much of this is going to be actually increased, we are not sure. The last time that stated, it was a mild but not a huge increase, so I'm just going to assume it's going to be not a very large increase in general. We'll get a Eternatus Helmet Avatar item, additional encounters with even more Pokemon. Usually, these have not been the most exciting Pokemon in general, so that's hasn't been a huge draw. Additional Candy XL, which will be Eternatus Candy and Candy XL, and additional Max Particles. And right now, you could at least see how many Max Particles it will be, along with how much Eternatus Candy and Candy XL. And we don't know the cost. The last time the cost was pretty excessive, but it also came with the bottle cap. So I don't know if it's going to be $19.99, if it's going to be $4.99, somewhere in between, or a whole new another price level. I'm not sure as of right now, and still Pokemon is still trying to get some of these informations for us. There's also going to be 3 tiers when you go throughout it. One of them is the first tier is going to be increased power for Behemoth Blade and Behemoth Bash. This is really, really vague. And remember, Behemoth Blade and Behemoth Bash are both for the charged attack, your transform attack, and also is part of the adventure effect as well. Unsure if this affects all 3 or only one of the 3, 2 of the 3. But for the increased power right now, I definitely think it would be part of the transform attack to help us really go through Eternatus faster and quicker. And on top of that, one of the main things is that Eternatus with its candy is going to have an adventure effect that will increase all the Dynamax and Gigantamax power by basically another 100 when it's used, except it's really expensive on the candy. So for that, this will probably be roughly on par with that, except we won't have to use candy to get it, which will make it a lot more easier for everyone to be able to hopefully defeat Eternatus if you have Zamazenta and Zacian. Tier 2, we even have more power for Behemoth Blade and Behemoth Bash, and there will be increased chance for wild encounters, Neo Power spots. This one I kind of like. Hopefully we will get more of these encounters. I've only gotten 2 so far overall myself. And finally, 3 is even more power. And then we also get additional rewards from max Pokemon placed at power spots. Hopefully that means XL candies, but with it being so vague, we don't have any data on this right now. Finally, for that Go Pass Deluxe, we will have a cap from Monday, August 18th to Friday, August 22nd. So if it's anything like that, you can usually only go up 10 Go points each day. If we're lucky, we could go 20 so that by Friday we can at least unlock Eternatus. But right now, my expectation is closer for us to be only be at rank 50 before that, and then it will be uncapped Saturday to Sunday. Overall, it did go pretty quickly last time, and I'm hoping it does the same thing. But with that, as I say, you will have to play Saturday and Sunday, most likely to get Eternatus at all. So we're going to start off with our rankings, and in last place right now for at least me in the Gigantamax area is going to be Butterfree. Butterfree takes increased damage from rock at 156%, 60% electric, fire, flying, and ice. It is strong to bug at 37.5, takes reduced damage of 60.9% fighting grass and 6% ground. It is our best bug attacker. Its stats are relatively low, and because it's mostly for bug and for ground defense, it is a very niche Gmax in general, and there will be probably other Gmaxes that we're going to choose above Butterfree, unless if they're double weak to bug, and there's just not that much Dynamax Pokemon right now that is even interesting in that regards. Its CP is 983 to 1044, which is really, really low. And on top of that, you are still going to have a chance to get it on August 3rd. So to me, Butterfree is the lowest in general. So Butterfree does have fast attacks. Bug Bite is the 0.5 second. That is the one that you're going to be using. Confusion and Struggle Bug are 1.5 seconds, and they are not really usable at all. When you're fighting Butterfree, you're going to have 2 bug attacks and 1 psychic attack. Generally, it should be a pretty easy battle in general. But with that, with everything that we see right now, for the max finale, this is something that we really aren't going to be all that interested in. The next one is Blastoise. Blastoise is, at this point, kind of irrelevant. There are much better tanks out there. There are much better attackers. And really now Blastoise is more just a relic of the very beginning of our Dynamax and Gigantamax era. It doesn't take 160% damage from electric and grass, and Blastoise takes reduced damage from fire, ice, steel, water at the 37.5%. The CP is relatively low for a lot of these. It's still better than Butterfree. The attack for 171 is pretty low. Defense 207 is just not high enough to make it worthwhile. I prefer using Kingler as my tank if I need to for water. And honestly, Blissey and Semizenta are just way too much of an improvement overall. Usually I just use Kingler as a tank if I'm using it as a water damage as well. Its HP is actually pretty low for what it should be for there as well. So all in all, just not that important. For its fast attacks, it does have a dark and water. The dark and water, though, are just not what we're looking for. Yes, it does have a rock with rollout, but we do have a Pokemon. Yes, it does require a elite fast TM, but it has a much better rock with a much better rock attack in general. So right now for a Blastoise, we're just not really seeing any real big benefit. I almost put it behind Butterfree, but honestly, Butterfree is just the most niche overall. I mean, you could argue that Butterfree at least is the strongest bug type attack, but honestly, we're not really going to be using the bug type attack at all anyways. If you are fighting Blastoise, it does have a pretty large amount of moves, which also kind of make it annoying to fight. It has Steel, Ice, 2 Water, and a Normal. It is not super powerful, but it is tanky, so you do need a couple more trainers than some of the others that we will be going against. All in all, it's just not really worth the effort. And really, you're going to want to spend that time, for that hour fighting Eternatus when you can. Next one on the list is Gmax Snorlax. It is a normal type. This one is basically a slightly lower hit point version of Blissey that just does a lot more damage. Generally, it does take increased damage from fighting and takes reduced damage from ghosts. If it had more resistances, it would actually be higher up overall. Obviously, there's a lot of issues trying to catch this, so some trainers may be needing a Snorlax, and obviously that takes a cake. If you require a Snorlax for your collection, then obviously go ahead and get it. But generally, we don't see a great deal amount of trainers use it, but it is an interesting choice outside of Blissey. But frankly, Zamazenta is definitely the one to use, at least in my end. If you haven't seen my video for the 6-star max meter filling, please go take a look at it. You do see that Zamazenta is faster, not by much, but it is the fastest one that we've had so far. Snorlax, though, does seem to attack pretty fast as well. I'm doing a 5-star where I do have some Snorlax data, but I just haven't been able to crunch the numbers yet. Snorlax, we have 3 different fast moves. Because it's a Gmax, use Lick at 0.5. It's still going to attack with the normal Gmax. And Lick at being 0.5 is a very powerful ability and fast move. For the charge moves, it does have 3 normal moves: Earthquake, Steel Heavy Slam, Dragon Outrage, and a Fighting Superpower. It wasn't that hard to beat overall. It's just kind of annoying that it has so many different moves. You're going to really be best fighting it with itself as a Snorlax, Blissey, or Zamazenta, as you really just want to absorb you want to be a sponge instead of trying to guess which element it uses. Next is Lapras, and now we're starting to get into the Pokemon that I feel that actually do have niches. Lapras is our Ice Gmax and also has some other somewhat decent uses, but it is pretty niche. It is weak to Electric, Fighting, Grass, and Rock. It takes 37.5% less damage to water and 60.9% less damage to ice. Its stats are relatively low in attack and low in defense, but really has really good HP. And yes, Snorlax actually has a little bit higher attack and has more HP. Lapras is a bit more useful because the ice is definitely going to potentially play nice with a lot of dragons. It's just in Pokemon Go, not all the dragons have double weakness to ice like some of the other games. So it is not as favorable as you would expect otherwise. With that, it still has some use. There are still a decent amount of double ice weak Pokemon that are very interesting. So I definitely see that Lapras has a use, but it's not going to be used like some of the other Pokemon that I will be discussing later. For its fast attacks, it is slightly frustrating that its ice attacks are 1 second, but it does have Water Gun at 0.5 seconds and a Psychic Attack Psywave at 0.5 seconds. Generally, it doesn't really matter. Just use the 0.5 seconds for Lapras. All is good there. For charge moves, it is a bit annoying. It does have 2 ice, 3 water, a neutral, and a dragon. This is another one of those. We're just having a sponge like Blissey, or especially Zamazenta. Especially Zamazenta during this event, as Zamazenta will have better attack as well during transformation. These will definitely be the ones that you're going to want to go against with Lapras. Next, we have Venusaur. Venusaur right now has a pretty good niche at being a very good grass tank. Eternatus will take its place, but Venusaur is going to be a lot cheaper to level up and rank up compared to Eternatus. I will be having a Eternatus video at the end of the week. I'm trying to give a little bit more time for some more data to be scrounged up if possible to go over. And I may be doing multiple videos as we learn more and more about this. But right now, Venusaur is going to be, I would say, a lot of trainers' grass tank out, and outside of Eternatus, which is probably going to require a lot of effort to level up. And Venusaur is going to be just a lot easier. Venusaur does have a 60% additional damage taken, and is weak to fire, flying, ice, and psychic. Gmax Venusaur takes reduced damage, 37.5% electric, fairy, fighting, water, and 60.9% to grass. The grass tank is pretty useful. In general, its stats are right at average. You can argue Lapras might be slightly more useful because you can use it as a healer. I ranked it just above, but to be fair, potato, these are niche Pokemon, but I still see uses for them. For the fast attacks, you're going to be using Vine Whip. It's just a 0.5-second attack. That's fine and dandy. It is a little bit of a shame it doesn't have a poison fast attack, because that would really help the Dynamax Venusaur. But because of that, we're just going to be using Vine Whip. And if you're fighting it, you're going to be basically just trying to protect against grass. The poison move isn't that strong. It is a little scary that it can be spammed a bit, but Frenzy Plant is actually stronger and the one that you're more worried about. So as long as you've got a good grass tank, like a Venusaur, it won't do a great deal of damage, and so you're going to focus more on there. Zamazenta will be a good secondary, but basically, just go ahead, go fight grass with grass, and you should be okay. Next up, we have Gmax Machamp. Machamp is one of the more interesting ones. It is our strongest fighting attack type. Fighting doesn't have the biggest niche overall, but in general, we do see that it's just not powerful enough to be used as a neutral version, but it still is our best one and a good attacker. Its defense is just a little too low, so it's not going to be a great deal, but in general, it still has quite a good niche, being the fighting type, as it will be something that we use to knock out normals that generally can have some high HP. Especially, it's great against Snorlax, as it is weak to fighting. And Machamp is going to really make it a pretty easy battle there. Machamp is weak to Fairy, Flying, and Psychic, as it takes 60% more damage. Machamp is strong against Bug, Dark, and Rock at 37.5% damage. It has a good attack, not the highest, but it is still very much above normal, slightly below normal in defense, and a little bit above normal in HP. Generally, it's a very solid Gmax. Fighting is a little bit more niche, and we do have stronger Gigantamax, like basically some of the starters that we're about to see. But in general, Machamp is very solid overall. Machamp has fast attacks, Karate Chop, and Counter, and Bullet Punch. They're all 1 second. That's why, as I say, it's kind of niche. We're not going to be using it as a tank at all because it's just too slow. It's basically only going to be used when we need to use fighting, but it is by far the best fighter. And so with that, that's why it's there. For charge moves, it has 4 fighting, 2 rock, a heavy slam, which is steel, and dark. Because of all the fighting, Blissey can be, and also Snorlax can be a little scary. It's about a 50% chance that you will or will not see that. Zamazenta is the better tank to choose from. But all in all, Machamp was pretty easy to beat, so not too worried about that. Next on the list is Charizard. Charizard is really, really interesting. It is not the strongest fire at all. With its fire flying type, it does have some pretty nice reduction. One of them, Charizard, though, is incredibly weak to rock at 156%. So if it does, Pokemon that you are fighting does have a rock attack, do not bring it in. Charizard will not enjoy that at all. It's also 60% weak to electric and water. But with the fire flying type, it does have pretty nice resistances. 37.5% fairy, fighting, fire, ground, and steel, and 60.9% bug and grass. The attack 223 is pretty good, a little bit weaker than Machop, but Charizard is one we're now starting to use a lot more often. It is a good tank. It does have a good, because it has such great defenses and its stamina. But in order for it to be a good tank, you do need your Gmax Charizard to have Dragon Breath. That is the 0.5-second attack, and that is going to make it sing. Generally, people, trainers will say, mad, it's not even part of its same typing, but the 0.5 seconds is what you're really looking for. Ember, Wing Attack, Air Slash, and Fire Spin, they're all 1 second. They're just too slow. We are going to be focusing for Dragon Breath for the fast move. If you still need a Charizard, it has mostly fire attacks with 1 dragon attack. The dragon attack is a bit spammy, but Flamethrower is a little bit more annoying than Dragon Claw. So as long as your tank is strong against fire, that's all you're really looking for. Next up is where now we're starting to get into the Gmaxes where we're really getting strong. Kingler is one that I use quite often. It is weak to electric and grass, and it is strong to fire, ice, steel, and water. And its attack stats at 240 is very good. Its defense at 181 is pretty good overall. Its HP is where it struggles a bit. You will need to be using shields in order to use this as a tank that also attacks. But its attack is pretty strong at 240. It is not higher on my list only because in its own water stat there's a higher attacker, but this one you can use as a shield tank fairly well. For its fast attacks, it really has 2 good ones. This one I stole from the Dynamax Gmax. If you're throwing Gmaxes out there, you're going to want to be using Metal Claw. If you have Mud Shot on the Kingler, that's just for your Gmax, that's just as good as well. But that's a fast TM, and the Metal Claw is 0.5 seconds. That's all that we're really looking for right here. If we need to fight it, it does have a decent amount of different moves. The normal move just really doesn't do enough damage to be that worrisome for Vice Grip. The bug move X Scissor is just spammy, but all in all, not too worrisome. Razor Shell is also a spammy move. That is the biggest worry that we have, as it can spam pretty quickly and it has a decent amount of attack. So you're going to be focusing mostly on a water tank, trying to use those resistances to lower the damage overall. But Kingler itself wasn't too hard either because it had pretty low HP. It's something that a solid 4 or 8 trainers will be able to take pretty quickly, especially with what we have now and with Zacian and Zamazenta being powered up, should be able to do some good damage with. The next one is one that was one of the early ones that honestly a lot of trainers missed, and it has been pretty important overall. Toxtricity is a very interesting Pokemon. It doesn't have that many weaknesses, but it is 156% weak to ground, 60% weak to psychic. It does have 37.5% resistances to bug, electric, fairy, fighting, flying, grass, poison, steel. Overall, though, it has not suggested using Toxtricity at all as a tank. It needs at least a double or triple resistance in order for that to work. And because of that, right now, I'm putting it on here because we don't have that many super strong electric attacking. And Gmax, this one is our Gmax electrical. And on top of this, this is going to be one of the few poisons that we have, at least until Eternatus. And in case that a lot of trainers don't have it, I'm going to be putting this as a DMAX one to be taking a look at as well. The attack 224 is somewhat low, but a lot of the Pokemon that we have fought has been weak to electric, and it's one of those that it's really nice to have. So if you don't have a Gmax Toxtricity, I highly suggest it. It was a pretty easy one to beat, as that was one of the first ones. I don't think you need to go very hard for, but that's something you really should make sure that you do have a Gmax Toxtricity. For the fast attacks, we have Spark, Poison, and Acid. And obviously, with Toxtricity Gmax, the Spark is going to be your main attack here. For the D-Max, though, you're going to be using the poison, and that's more because that's our best poison attacker right now. For the charge moves, we have Discharge, Wild Charge as a 2 electrical, an Acid Spray, and a Power Up Punch. The Acid Spray just doesn't do enough damage for how much time it uses, so don't really worry about poison weaknesses. You're going to be focusing mostly with electric, and the fighting is slightly faster but pretty weak. So in general, a lightning is probably all that you're looking for. Wild Charge was the one that did massive damage to everybody back in the day, but right now that is a pretty mild charge move comparatively to everyone else. So Toxicity is one of the highest on my list. All right, now we're getting to the top tiers here. G-Max Rillaboom. Rillaboom is really just the best grass type attacker. Venusaur and Charizard, depending on what you're looking for, are going to be your best grass type defenders. Rillaboom takes increased damage from bug, fire, flying, ice, and poison, and Rillaboom takes reduced damage from electric, grass, ground, and water. It has a very good attack at 239. Its defense is, especially for the hone starters, very high at 168, but still below average, and its HP is pretty good as well. Its fast attacks, you're going to be using Scratch because you want that 0.5 seconds, and the charge moves fighting against it are just 2 grass and Earth Power. Earth Power hit pretty hard, so we do need to pay attention to exactly what it's using and try to switch out to the correct tank. You can easily high tank it with Zamazenta or Blissey for a bit. It does hit fairly hard. Grass Knot was not super spammy because the animation was a little bit longer. But in general, Rillaboom is really, really solid and can deliver the boom to whatever Pokemon that you're looking for just because of how strong it is. Next is Cinderace. Cinderace is weak to ground, rock, and water. It is strong to bug, fairy, fire, grass, ice, and steel. It is the best fire type. Damage has 238 attack. Its defense and HP are worse than Rillaboom. We're not going to be using Cinderace for tanking at all. It is just for finishing off battles and transformation only. But because it is a high fire type damage, fire is very, very good towards a lot of Pokemon. So I highly suggest that if you don't have a Cinderace, to get one. And as I say, it's primarily for damage. For the fast attacks, Tackle is going to be the one that you use, but you should not be using Cinderace as a tank. For charge moves, Flamethrower is the scary one. You're going to be focusing primarily for fire. Fighting is nice because Focus Blast does do an awful lot of damage. It's hard for me to tell how hard the battle was. I was in New York City, so I was fighting these by the 100. And in general, it just went very, very quickly. But I do remember that with 4550, now a lot of these were trainers that weren't the highest level, but they were incinerated very quickly. So it was a very interesting battle in New York City. But I wouldn't be surprised if Cinderace was also brought up a little bit higher in the overall damage department there. But if that was the case for others, and as I say, I just never got to really take a look at that, then it is definitely can be a bit dangerous. I do remember Flamethrower was very spammy, and Focus Blast did an awful lot of damage. Next, we have Inteleon. Inteleon is the strongest of the starters. It's weak to electric and grass, strong to fire, ice, steel, and water. It is absolutely a sniper, as it has an insane amount of attack, but its defense and stamina are pretty low. This is definitely something that you're not going to be using as a tank. Your primary use is going to be finishing off a battle that's weak to water. And because it's such high up there in stats, I have it ranked higher, but there's still one Pokemon that I have higher. But to finish off Inteleon, they both fast attacks are 0.5 seconds, which is fantastic if we were going to use it at all for a tank, but we're not. Its charge moves, Surf is going to be the real dangerous one. It does have a ghost type attack as well. This is where Blissey really shined and kind of made Shadow Ball irrelevant. Water Pulse and Surf. Inteleon is definitely where Blissey is a better choice than Zamazenta in this regard because of Shadow Ball. But in general, Zamazenta will also work against Inteleon. Finally, we have Gengar. Gengar is, to me, the most useful. Inteleon has slightly more attack, but Gengar does have the ability to actually be used as a tank against fighting units. And with that, let's just go through Gengar. Gengar takes increased damage from Dark, Ghost, Ground, and Psychic. It will absolutely melt because its defense and HP are so low. But Gengar takes reduced damage from Fairy and Grass, 60.9% less damage to Bug, Normal, Poison, and 75.6% less to Fighting. With all that, it does make Gengar very useful as a tank with that 75.6 and even that 60.9. The attack is just incredible. But with the low HP, you do need to use shields to use Gengar effectively as a tank, and it's only because of certain elements with its such high damage resistance. For its fast attacks, you could do Dark or Ghost, and honestly, you should probably just stick with Ghost. If it's weak against Dark, you could go ahead and do that instead, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. Your Shadow Claw is probably just more consistent, but a fast TM is pretty easy to get. Just do a route every day. You'll be able to rack those up pretty quickly. For the charge moves, it hit pretty hard. They did lower the difficulty. I don't know if they're going to keep the lower difficulty or bring it up for Gengar. If it did bring it up, it will have more HP, but I don't think it'll be that much more difficult. This was one of the first and early ones for us to do. It didn't. We were able to defeat it fairly quickly, but it does have 2 Ghost, 2 Poison, a Dark, a Psychic, and a Fighting. This is a Zamazenta and Blissey fight, as Blissey will absolutely take apart the Ghost attacks, and Zamazenta will be better for most of the others. But in general, it will be pretty defeatable. And that was my number 1. Now, we are going to be fighting Eternatus. Eternatus is going to be our main focus. You're probably only going to really be able to get, unless if you have a very large amount of power spots, only 1 or 2 of each of the Gmaxes beforehand will be available. So only available for 1 hour at a time throughout that weekend. Eternatus, though, will be available throughout the entire weekend and will cover most of the spots, probably about 55 to 60%. Eternatus does take increased damage from Dragon, Ground, Ice, and Psychic. I'm not going to go into the full details here. That will be a separate video. I will link to it when I have it completed. Eternatus does, though, take reduced damage from Bug, Electric, Fighting, Fire, Poison, and Water, and less damage at 60.9% less damage to Grass. The CPs that we'll be originally looking for, if we got to fight it, but the only CP we'll get to see is the level 100 from the Go Pass. So you're hoping that when you do get the Eternatus, that you're going to get it for 2530 CP. That is the hundo. That is what we're looking for. Anything less than that will not be the hundo. And if you're closer to 2435, you will be sad because that is the floor of 10, 10, 10. You only get 1. Each battle's for candy only, and this is incredibly candy hungry. We're talking almost 10,000 candies. I will have more details on this. This is very disappointing on how candy hungry it currently is. Once again, these are not from Niantic Scopely, but from the data mining. These could be wrong. We have noticed that they have had incorrect rounding errors or incorrect decimal points, and I'm hoping that the decimal point's there, but that kind of seems unlikely because Pokemon Group has done a really good job detailing everything, and it does look like that the last 6 to 8 levels gets really, really expensive. 40 is plausible, but beyond that's not. Its stats are incredible. It has a 5007 CP, 278 attack, 192 defense, and very good HP. It is not broken, but it is a very strong Pokemon. Now, we're probably going to be fighting Eternamax Eternatus while we are getting Eternamax only. It is the same, it's just its stats are insane. Its attack is actually lower at 251. Its defense and stamina, though, are absolutely huge. So they are really boosting up Zamazenta and Zacian with that pass, going tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And I think they're doing that because Eternamax Eternatus is just so strong for defense and strength. It's defense and HP that it will be a slog of a battle, and that we need the help in order to get this done at a reasonable time. My big worry is that even if you have like 6 to 8 power spots, depending on how fast to refresh, the battles could take a decent amount of time. And with that, we are probably going to need to only be able to fight 3 to 4 of them per 30 minutes, unless if you have a really strong group of 40 to take it down quickly. So for the fast attacks, it has Poison, Jab, and Tail. For our Eternatus, we're going to have Flamethrower, Dragon Pulse, Poison, and Dynamax Cannon, as the charge moves, but the cannon is going to require an Elite TM. The Eternatus that we'll be fighting has the same moves plus the Hyper Beam. Interestingly enough, the Eternatus actually has less attack than Eternamax does, just incredible defense and HP. So we're going to go through this a little bit more detail later, but once again, Poison and the cannon, if it is used, is going to be absolutely devastating. We do need to have a dragon defense against it. It is spammy with incredibly high attack power, and I just expect that to be the preferred attack pattern. If that's the case, it will be painful without having a high dragon, which means Zacian is going to be key to this battle. Finally, we're going to go quickly through the Dynamaxes that I feel are important. Latias is one of them. It is weak to Bug, Dark, Dragon, Fairy, Ghost, Ice, and strong to Electric, Fighting, Fire, Grass, Psychic, and Water. This will be during the Dynamax battle of Monday, the 18th only. This is one of the two that I feel are very important that are going to be on Monday. It's fast moves, and if we want a more detailed, go to the link that I got above here for Latias and Latios, which will be the next one, on how well to beat it. But you're going to be using the Dragon Breath if needed, and the charge moves are Thunder, Psychic, Outrage, and Mist Ball. I will say that Mist Ball and Thunder were pretty annoying. Mist Ball was a little spammy and was the ones where I had the most difficulty with. But the main one is Latios. Latias is slightly tankier, but we're not going to be tanking. Latios might be the best, but it's really hard to tell without knowing the percentage increase of the Behemoth Bash and Blade. So I'm still putting Latios in here. Latios is going to be the best dragon attacker, and with a 268 attack, 212 defense, is very, very powerful just in general. Right now, Latios is the best dragon attacker. Latias is the best dragon tank. So what we're going to use that for is kind of more, though, primarily is the dragon attack. So we have 268 attack here. Has the same weaknesses and strengths as Latios. And once again, it is only available for Monday, August 18th. If you've only got max particles for one, focus on Latios. You will get a lot more use out of it than Latias, which hurts me. Latias is my favorite shiny, but I did get one, and so now I need to focus on Latios. It's fast moves. You're going to be only using this for Dragon Breath at 0.5 seconds. But really, honestly, I'm not even sure you're going to be using it a great deal. You're going to be putting the Dragon Breath to do Dragon Attack. Psychic, though, it does have, actually, is our strongest psychic attack as well. It does just beat out Metagross. Charge moves, we have Dragon Claw, Psychic, Solar Beam, and Luster Purge. Solar Beam was really annoying to go against. It only attacked us once, but it was a pretty powerful attack. But in general, if you have a tank, that was fine. Dragon Claw made the battle real easy. Don't worry about Dragon taking dragon damage. The Psychic and Luster Purge, those were the ones that were very annoying. I focused mostly defending on Psychic against Latios, and that worked incredibly well. Finally, the last one is Dynamax Toxtricity, more because we just haven't seen them, and it will be something what I feel is the most interesting for Tuesday and Wednesday of the 19th and 20th for the Dynamax battle time frame. I am going to highly suggest trainers save their Max Particles Thursday, Friday for the Max Finale weekend. It is going to be primarily Max Finales, other than to fight more Zamazenta and Zacian. I do not have them here. They are 5 stars. You will be focusing mostly on Eternatus, then Zamazenta and Zacian. Once you run out of max points and you still want to battle, max points are a lot more expensive than the passes. So I'll try to talk more about that a little bit later, but this video is already getting pretty long. Toxtricity does take increased damage from ground. You're basically just going to be using Excadrill here. And Psychic, it actually does have a pretty good reduced damage, but we've already covered that with Gmax. But why is this so interesting? It has some pretty nice poison fast attacks. You're going to be, that's what you're going to be using Toxtricity for, is the poison. Yes, Eternatus will be better. Once again, I'm just suggesting that you get this Tuesday, Wednesday. It will be interesting to get something that is pretty, we haven't seen in a while, and personally does have a pretty good use. The big issue is with Eternatus. I'm not sure it's better investing in Eternatus or keeping it around for its adventure effect, and I'll explain that in a separate video. But with that, that's all I have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this at least initial review of everything that's kind of going on for the Max Finale week. It's an awful lot. I'm going to be breaking this down in more detail, but I wanted to go through this first. With that, if you do like this, please give it a like and subscribe. That really helps my channel. You can also check me out on twitch.tv/madguru 24/7, but when I am live, I am happy to answer any of your questions. My Discord is in the community tab. Join it. We could also have discussions there. At some point soon, I'll also be updating my Patreon to have a lot of these slides for the paid Patreons to be able to have access to. And if you join via Patreon or YouTube, you can also end up at the end of my videos from now to forever. And with that, though, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Class is dismissed, and as always, I'll do better next time. Bye.